So we're going to do a totem jar, and it starts the same way as we do a mug or a bottle form. And so we're going to strike a line. And I would say you want your totem jar to be about, I would say 8 inches-ish tall. So I'm going to mark 8 inches, make a mark, 8 inches over here, make a mark, and connect those dots. Roll this up. I've got plenty. I'm going to make a mark here and down below instead of cut all the way through it, because that seems to give me a better fit. Slip and score. And put that together. Slip and score the bottom. Oh, I guess I can use this. And just like the mug, you want to cut out about 1/8 of an inch extra all the way around. Reserve that piece. Give it a little tap, and then remember, pull it off the edge of the table and pull up that bottom into the body of the jar form. And you've got the tube to press into, so you've got something to press against and hold its shape. And then to make sure that it's nicely done, I'm going to just roll it on the table to give that edge on the bottom a nice squared off edge. Okay, this is where we now start in a different direction. Do not forget to take the tube out and the newspaper. And this is where you now have to be very gentle. I'm going to trim that little edge so it's not sticking up too much. And I'm going to slip and score all the way around. Now we no longer have the tube inside to give it stability. So I'm very carefully going to turn it upside down and put it on a piece of clay. I'm cutting it out. This one is fairly close because I no longer have that tube to push against. So I really need it to be pretty close. The way around. And I'm going to gently give it a little tap. Get a turntable and very carefully turn it upside down. Now I'm going to go around and smooth that extra piece of clay into the body of the jar. But you have to do it carefully because you no longer have anything to push against. But one thing you have going for you is if you do this properly and you've got a nice seal, you've got air inside that's going to hold it pretty firm. So you want to make sure that it's all nicely sealed. Now, does anyone play the drums? Me neither. But if we were to play the drums, we would hold our sticks very, very carefully, very casually, like this. You wouldn't grab onto it like this and then beat the drum, because you want a nice fluid motion. Same thing, what we're going to do, we are not going to beat the clay, but we're going to paddle the clay. And we want this to be a rounded top. So what we want to do is start right below where you joined it, and we're not hitting straight on. If I were doing it slow motion, it would look like this. So I'm just lightly doing a circular motion, and if I'm going to be hitting it on one side, definitely make sure you're going to hold it on the other side, otherwise you're going to knock it off the turntable. So you want to hang on to it. And I have it in the middle of my turntable, and I'm just starting just below the top, and I'm just gently, as I'm paddling it, turning the turntable. And you'll notice shortly that it's beginning to sink in the top. That's fine, because the clay's got to go somewhere. Now I've moved up just a little bit, but you've got to be gentle, and it does take time. And the top is going to sink in more, and you want to paddle it evenly too, because you want it to be a nice symmetrical dome on top. Now it doesn't always, when you get to the top, sometimes you'll run out of clay, which that's okay. You can kind of patch it with a coil. You can also decide to incorporate that little hole into your design. And you can either decide to make a totem, your animal, sitting on top, or you can incorporate the entire jar into an animal, or maybe the head of the animal. I have some samples that I brought in this morning. One thing, when you make your animals, think about what they're going to be doing on top of your jar. It will look much more interesting if the animal is in action instead of just sitting and standing on top of your jar. You'll have a more dynamic. And so with this top, I can either fill it with clay, or I can use that. Maybe my animal came to a drinking hole, and that's the drinking hole. Could be like that. Going to do, but I can either plug that or use it. Now today you're going to, well, when you get to do your totem jar, you're going to do this in one day. I will show you, this has to get a little bit leather hard first, and I'm going to show you how to cut it open so it kind of is like a puzzle. So it sits on top and it holds its place. You don't want to cut it open so it's a straight, in a straight line, because that isn't going to key it in like a puzzle. You want it to be more puzzle-like. You don't want to cut it up and down in a jagged tips, points, because that's going to make it more complex when you glaze it and to make it fit together. So you want just a gentle, gentle sloping back and forth motion to cut it off and make it fit. And it will hold it on once it's glazed. What I will do today is put my animal, work on my animal. I don't want this to get too hard, but I want it to get leather hard before I cut it open. And I'll show you how, probably tomorrow, how I cut it open. Okay? So there you've got your totem jar.